But from my side, if I say that, okay, I wanted to make a film and there was no other way I could have made it. This was the only way, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is.
I don't know how people connected to that, but I think people connect to the act of bullying and the idea of trauma, because
the main thing where we struggle is the structure of the film, because it's a little fragmentary.
To go into that abstraction that I don't even know why I'm doing it, I have never experienced that.
That image, that thing, it hit me at that time only. It's only during the shoot that it happened.
It was seamless process for us because we know each other since long. So yeah, that was it. It was very seamless for us.
मेरे ही एक पर्सनल एलिमेंट्स जो कभी मैं ही नहीं देखता हूँ वो दिख जाते हैं एज एन एक्टर.
Congratulations. So Abhijit, I wanted to start with this idea. There are often two separate questions, right? What is the story you want to tell and how do you want to tell this story? And they often get answered in the filmmaker's mind in one way. Or sometimes they get answered alongside each other. Sometimes there's a discrepancy. You attach a form onto the substance. But when I see a film like this, which is an egregious form, it's constantly playing with it and toying with it. The question comes, did you arrive at this form alongside your story, or was this form that you've taken something that you built and tinkered with over time?
I think it largely happened simultaneously. A lot of times when I think in the process of writing, I was being able to figure out how I would like to shoot, more or less. Obviously, till the last moment, some amount of tweaking was happening depending upon the location, depending upon the nature, the characteristic of the space. At the time of the shoot, a little bit of tweaking was happening till the very end. And some of the scenes when I was writing, I was not entirely certain about how I'm going to approach it cinematically.
Which scene, for example?
For example, that scene is not there anymore. So when I wrote it, I was very uncomfortable about the way the scene was playing out on script. And I was not sure how I'm going to shoot that scene. So when in the process of rehearsing for that scene, when we were working with the actors and we went to the space, the location, we were rehearsing, and we figured that it's not happening because the cinematic idea is not, coming through. And then the entire scene sort of changed and became a very different kind of a scene. It again got rewrote in the script itself. And now I can tell you the scene because that is there in the film. The scene where Khushbu comes to meet Jatin in the rehearsal space, that was a very different kind of a scene, It was almost like an extension of the scene that we had between Khushbu and Amol, where there was a little bit of a face-off. There was this, that Khushbu is there to vent out her, her anger and, sort of take it out on the other person. But it felt that it's like the repeat of the same scene, in a way, what is happening with Amol. And I wanted to, and we all wanted to actually, stay with Khushbu, somewhere in the film, which was not happening at all. We were almost looking at her sort of as someone who's protecting Manoj, who's taking care of Manoj, and we were trying to find out the true core of Khushbu, and it was not happening in the film. And at that point of time, we figured that if we reconstruct the scene and rewrite the scene in a certain way, then maybe we'll be able to find the core of Khushbu and we'll be able to stay with her for a little longer. And that's going to help the film and help us to understand Khushbu also, who's such an important character in the film. So yeah, the form happened over the process of rehearsing, writing. Some of the times the form came along with the writing. For example, the very first the bullying scene that we see at the lake, 70-80% of what we see in the film was almost there while I was writing it. But some scenes sort of emerged later as very fresh ideas in terms of cinematic treatment, and they got rewrote and reimagined. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. It's
Yeah.
fascinating because walking into the film, there's this constant sense that you're trying to pull us away from it, right? The camera is so distant even when it's really close to his face, it's blurred. You're blurring his face out. There's this constant evasion that you're trying to do, and you're doing something very uncomfortable with the form. And over time, as the story develops, you're actually seeing it take shape in the form of the story you're telling, which is why I asked. But then also the question of casting actors and naming your characters the same, right? Are you trying to bring in this illusion of autofiction into your story? What's that? Were you co-creating these characters with them?
Absolutely. I mean, definitely the process was co-creating the characters with them. And that started with Manoj a long time before even I started writing the script. I just had an idea. So when I shared the idea with Manoj to start with, and I said that, do you want to do this? I just have this image of a naked man in public, and what happens to that person?
How do you react to that when he told you?
So when he shared this with me, I was thrilled because about a week ago, I saw this, and we talked about it also. I saw this woman under Azad Nagar metro station, and she was walking completely naked, and I didn't really know how to respond to that at that point of time. So when he shared that image with me of a man naked in a public space, it rang those bells. And also I immediately said yes to him because I knew his sensibilities. We had worked before. He also directed my diploma film, uh, which uh, which sort of developed that rapport between us. So I knew that for sure he's not going to sensationalize the image. For sure he's going to be very sensitive about it. And I really wanted to explore that idea, where this goes, and what is my role in such a position. If I'm faced with such a situation, so that lady, what I noticed was people were coming out of their shops. They took one or two steps towards her, but they were quite everybody was. I don't think the film even now gave me the answer as to what I can do in such a situation, but it does something to us. A naked image in a public space. You want to help also, uh, but I don't know. I mean, I don't have an answer to that, but this was the reaction that I just said yes because I was excited to work with him. I knew it's not going to be shallow. That's it, and I was thrilled where it goes, and I'm quite thrilled the way it has shaped up.
What about creating this character?
Yeah, I
Sorry.
just want to come back, add to what he just said, and coming back to your question about co-creating, and that happened right from that happened right from the start when I started, jamming with the idea with Manoj. From that point onwards, and I know every one of them. They're from the same batch of FTI acting.
Mike.
Sorry, it's the same acting batch of FTI. So I've worked with almost all of them in way back in 2013, and when we made the diploma film for them, and so the relationship goes really long back, and we know each other really really well. So it was not only it started with Manoj, but then the co-creation happened with each and every one of them, and so for me it was like almost I could see a part of their sort of part of them being reflected in the characters, but the other part was obviously an extension. And then there was that, sort of taking it ahead. The character was being taken ahead a little bit, obviously. And in a way, because it's a film about actors and they are also actors, so it was a film about them. I mean, in a sort of a circular way, it's about them. So we thought that why not keep the same names, because they could just be themselves in a way. And we just thought of going ahead with that idea.
There's also something naughty about it, right? Because then you also have this, you're kicking up a voyeuristic impulse in us. It's like, is this them really?
Right, absolutely, absolutely. So that happens when in the film Manoj also starts talking about, oh, it was a part of the shoot, you know. And, a little part of that scene when he was sitting with Sandeep on the rocks beside the sea, and he was narrating about what happened and how the video got leaked, that actually happened in our film when we were shooting. So we were shooting that scene after the scene that happened where he was being beaten up on the road. So that actually happened that a lot of cars stopped, a lot of people stopped. Some people actually took a video and they blackmailed us. We have to pay, and all of that happened. So the next day we were shooting this scene. So we thought that let's put this in the script, you know. Let's make this so. So it was also going hand in hand, you know. It was feeding itself in a certain way, and which was fun because the film was then sort of looking at itself. And we thought that it was fun. It was interesting to be able to do that.
There's something fascinating about these films. Even a few months ago, we screened Fairy Folk here. I don't know if y'all were here, which is also about, this dysfunctional couple, real life and real life, as you both are. And there's something very uncomfortable and exciting about this form that filmmakers are taking. But Khushbu, Amol, Sandeep, can you talk about bringing these characters that you're lending your name to, but also in some sense your profession to? Not Sandeep, maybe, but.
Actually, it was a very nice experience working, especially. I know these are like my batchmates only. So, I think I'm the only person who is not playing actor in the film.
Yeah, he's the only person
So, the most challenging part was
to be an actor.
how wants to be an actor. Yes.
Aspiring actor.
Yeah. So, sir asked me to. I'm playing gym instructor. So the only thing he asked me to just build some body. So that was the thing. So I tried as much as I can, but I don't know. I mean, this film, the process was so seamless that whether we call this was the character's name or the actor's name, still I can't say it was much of a difference because it was seamless process for us because we know each other since long. So yeah, that was it. It was very seamless for us.
Khushbu?
So it was seamless and all that, but during one of the scenes, when we actually spot him naked on the road, so in that scene we had, of course, rehearsed and all and everything. There was no crying actually. I'm not crying. It was not written in the script. But the first time and just before the scene, we were all, me, Jatin, and Amol, we were just like fapping around and all, laughing and all. We thought it's just a scene. We spot him, we take our dialogues, take him to the home, and that's it. That's done. But I don't know what happened as soon as I saw that image. Like, he talked about an image he saw, somebody naked on the road. It hit me. Like, I started almost howling and all. And then ma'am came and she gave me water and everything. And he had to stop the scene, the shoot and all. So he said ki, acha, ye ho raha hai abhi. This is what is happening. And I didn't know what happened to me by seeing that image. And for me, till that time, it was a different process of being in the film. But after that, everything changed for me. And I'm very happy also in that. That was almost the first scene we shot. So my approach to the whole scene changed after that. My scene with Jatin and with him also changed. It changed in a matter that it felt like it has happened. It did happen. That I saw my partner naked on the road and so helpless, and I was not there. And I couldn't do anything. Now what? That hit me once I saw that image. वो मतलब till that time it was very technical on in script and all. We had rehearsed, we knew, I know and all that, but that image, that thing, it hit me at that time only. It's only during the shoot that it happened. And then he also incorporated that crying and
Yeah,
all.
I just want to add to what she just said. The sobbing that we hear in the film when the car is like driving and we are seeing the blurred out road, and we hear her sob. That idea came later
Yeah.
when that happened. So it was, as I was saying, it was constantly I think what was happening to us, somewhere or the other, was also constantly feeding into the film. So I thought that this is extremely poignant and honest and true and genuine, and we must have this in the film. So that's how it became a part of the film.
And the whole shooting and everything was the same. He was there, he was listening, he was seeing what we are doing, what is happening to us and all. He was absolutely there. It was not that this is my script, you have to perform it this way. And about names and all, I don't think that mattered after a point. Whatever the name is, doesn't matter. It's finally the emotions and the circumstances and situations. So we concentrated only on that. It's not about the name. I don't know how to answer.
What about the spaces? Were these the spaces that you're familiar with? Your own houses that you're shooting in?
No, it was Sir's house.
Yeah, the house that we see is actually my our apartment, but we didn't have any money to like go and rent out an apartment. So we thought that let's try and make it happen here. The rest of the places, of course, they were pretty new to us, you know, and lots of spaces where you have lots of friends, and where I work at Whistling Woods. So Whistling Woods was a great help, great support. I could shoot a lot of my scenes at Whistling Woods itself. And in one of the properties that they own, Mukta House owns a property, New Excelsior, the theater that they have in town. So the final scene of him walking down the staircase was shot at New Excelsior. So all these, yes, these spaces where, you know, sort of we just out of sheer goodwill and support and help. And then our great friend Kaushik and Padmaja, I think Padmaja is here. Padmaja, are you here? So the therapist, where the office space that we see them having a conversation, that's also a friend's office actually. So a lot of those spaces were also given to us out of love and affection and support for the film, and a lot of places we had to like sort of shell out some money to shoot. Yeah.
Amol, you were answering the previous question. Sorry. Is it working?
We were not as serious as you see on screen as. I was about to say about this same incidents. And we are having fun. And they were in the tension because I don't know how to drive a car. So this was my third time somebody was paying me. I was going to the driving school and learning the skill. And over the year of 10 years, I've been driving since truck to Omni to car to everything, but on screen. Not after and before that. So we were just, they were in the panic, we were having fun. And when I was doing the dubbing for that shot, then I suddenly realized what happened to us after you said action. And that's the thing, like I felt ki this is a relationship we were having since last many years. And तो वो नाम का भी मुझे ये लगता है कि जैसे मेरा नाम अमोल रखा तो मेरा बैरियर निकल गया कैरेक्टर का और मेरा बीच का कि प्रिपरेशन वाला एंड वो इंस्टिंक्ट पे ज़्यादा जाना शुरू हो गया उसके ऊपर एंड वी वर लाइक 10 साल से जान रहे हैं तो हम लोग पार्टी भी कर रहे हैं बीच बीच में कभी और शूट पे भी आ रहे हैं तो वो शूट और ये अलग अलग नहीं रहा वो एक हो गया उसी सीन में इट वॉज अ सिंपल आई वॉज जस्ट थिंकिंग अबाउट दैट सीन कि हम लोग गाड़ी चला रहे हैं एंड मनोज दिख गया और उस शॉट के बाद दे आर रियल हस्बैंड एंड वाइफ मुझे लगता है उस वक्त वो ज़्यादा हिट कर गया in the film. Yeah.
That happened.
So she was different Khushbu after that shot, and she came, and I was the only person I was not driving the car in the close scene. When they saw Manoj, मैं कहीं और खड़ा था. So she came and I hugged her, and she was different. And suddenly एक जो spot था या कोई अपना बंदा था, कोई चिल्ला रहा है इसको पानी दो पानी दो पानी दो, and he gave the पानी, but that was not पानी, that was tonic water. उसने जैसे ही 2 सिप मारा एंड द पैटर्न वॉज ब्रेक एंड शी केम बैक टू द अगेन द मोमेंट या सो मुझे लगता है कि वो प्रोसेस में जैसे वो तालाब का भी प्रोसेस था उसमें भी हमको जो इनपुट्स मिल रहे थे या इंस्टिंक्टिवली जो चीज़ें बढ़ रही थी जो आ रही थी एंड और एक्टर का क्या होता है एक्टर परफॉर्मेंस में जैसा दिखता है वैसा उतना सोचता नहीं है. मैं अपने एक्सपीरियंस से बोल रहा हूँ. एक्टर इज नॉट अ थिंकर, एक्टर इज अ एक्टर. तो वो एक्शन 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 पे ज़्यादा जोर देता रहता है. तो वो एक्शंस जो मिल रहे थे, कभी कभी लगता था कि कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी तो नहीं कर रहा है अपने आप को. मैं अभी बात कर रहा था तो मैं एज अ ऑडियंस फर्स्ट टाइम आज अपने आप को भी देख रहा था 3-4 बार देखने के बाद. तो वो कुछ मेरे ही एक पर्सनल एलिमेंट्स जो कभी मैं ही नहीं देखता हूँ, वो दिख जाते हैं एज एन एक्टर. तो वो एक एक्सपीरियंस रहता है. तो मुझे लगा कि ओवरऑल जो एक्सपीरियंस अभिजीत दा के साथ काम करने वक्त, जब मुझे पहला काम मिला था उनके साथ, वो भी ऐसे ही एक शॉट किया और ख़त्म हो गया था. मेरा मेरा वाला जो था, हमने जहाँ पे शूट किया था, वेरी स्कैरी शूट किया था हमने उस वक्त, इफ़ यू रिमेंबर दैट. और
course.
पहले रिहर्सल के बाद अभिजीत दा केम टू मी एंड मेरे कान में बोला, अमोल होगा ना तेरे से. मैं बोला मुझे एक को मारना था, समथिंग लाइक दैट. और उस शूट पे सबको लगा कि मैं रियल पुलिस वाला हूँ, और वो 150 पौने 200 लोग चुपचाप शूट करने दिया हमको रात को उसने. समथिंग लाइक दैट. थैंक यू.
Yeah, yeah.
तो वो एक एक्सपीरियंस रहा.
It was a very difficult shoot at that point of time. I mean, for that scene. But it was a different film. He was talking about a diploma film. So just to add to what you said about that naughty thing, no, you're absolutely so right. Because the relationship between Amol and Manoj in the film, we saw it somewhat trickling back to the real life here and there. And it was really complex to sort of sort that and navigate that here and there. A little bit of that was playing out, and there was
It was
certain
difficult
naughtiness
to
about
sit
it.
next to him. Very uncomfortable.
There was a slight little naughtiness about that. Yes, it was happening. We are having fun.
You're being naughty.
Yeah. I mean, yes, of
I mean,
course.
both, I
Yes,
suppose.
Yes,
Um,
of course.
Amala, I want to bring you in here. Because you're doing a dual function here. As just a producer bringing this film together, and also a sound designer, and I do want to talk about the sound in a bit. But as Spandi noted in the beginning, one of the most joyful things is to see all of those names in the credits list. All of these people who are coming together to make a group of people be able to tell their story. So can you talk briefly about this idea of crowdfunding this film and bringing this to life?
I think Abhijit came up with an idea which was also complex. And to take it to producers in a conventional way would have been a very tiresome process. So a friend of his, a colleague of his, Sharad Raj, he had done a crowdfunding campaign. It was pretty successful. And we took a cue from that. And and we worked on that. In fact, I think we reached out to friends reached out to their friends. It was a very extensive kind of a campaign where we really reached out to the people we knew, and we had these crowdfunding warriors, I call them, because there were few of them, like this, some people
Some of them
here.
are sitting
Pubali
here.
is sitting
Pubali,
here.
who's sitting in the
And
back row
other
there.
friends of ours who actually reached out to many other people actively to kind of, get the magic figure of 20 lakhs. So if you get 20, then we have 20. Otherwise, we don't have anything. All the money goes back to the backers. So, and this we had to do in 2 months. So we hit the figure, and then I think COVID set in. That was the end of Jan or Feb, and COVID set in. We were supposed to shoot in May. But the crowdfunding exercise made us realize that this is very much possible, and we just have to cut the cloth by the whatever is the phrase. But so we had a certain figure to the budget of the film. We in fact, one of our biggest crowdfunders, he actually stepped in, and he contributed like another, say, 20 lakhs. So it was kind of magical. Just as the process of the filmmaking, crowdfunding was like a dream come true. So we had a certain figure, and we wanted to go by that. But of course, crowdfunding made us connect to so many people, and we kept the connection on. And we felt that we were also kind of somewhere accountable to make a good film for our backers, you know. And many of our backers are here actually to watch the film. And uh, yeah, so it was a very intense and extensive process.
Amala, what do you go to them with? Because this is a film whose affect, whose impact comes so much from its visuals, right? From the way it's shot, its form, so to
Right.
speak. I'm curious, what did you tell them the story was about? What did they think that the story? How did you narrate it? Or was
So-
there narrations? Were they just briefly, this is what the story is?
I think we had Abhijit talking about the film, the act of bullying. We had a pitch video. Manoj, Amol, Sandeep, Jatin, Khushbu, they all talked about the concept of the film, which essentially came from abuse, which leads to trauma. That was the basic pitch of the film. And an actor being, in trauma, that was the basic pitch of the film. I don't know how people connected to that, but I think people connect to the act of bullying and the idea of trauma, because trauma is prevalent and trauma is everywhere.
Just add one thing about this. Obviously, the idea is a little abstract, so it was difficult to reach out with the idea. But we made a pitch video, and we all featured in that pitch video. A lot of time, the crowdfunding backers would also want to see whether we come across as a team or not, as a unit, whether we are together and whether we believe, whether we are all convinced to the same degree or not. I think that sort of happened through the pitch video, and I think that was something that convinced them to sort of, step out and back us. So one of the things, it's very important to be able to create a, there's a value to the pitch video.
And
if you
also,
can-
we had people who were
Mm.
speaking for us, as in outside of the video, there were people who were, who had contributed, who would tell others to contribute. So it was a word of mouth as well. So I think Abhijit or all the people who were a part of the project had a certain reach, and that reach extended itself to a larger reach.
Yeah, I mean, all the friends, the primary friends, and then they're opening out with secondary friends and people who we don't know, who they also don't know, but, some through some distant remote connections, the doors start opening up, and, and sometimes Puvali would, sort of threaten people to pay, and all of that worked. No, I think she's just stepped out.
The question then is this a replicable model for independent filmmaking?
I hope it is, I really hope it is, because otherwise it's impossible to make a film. I mean, this kind of a film will not get made. I'm not saying that it was important to be, to get made or not. I mean, that's debatable, and only people can, sort of talk about that. But from my side, if I say that, okay, I wanted to make a film and there was no other way I could have made it. This was the only way, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, that this is the only way I could have done
But
it.
having said that, crowdfunding now seems like, in fact, Wishberry, the crowdfunding partner, our crowdfunding partner, had shut shop. Maybe during COVID, because of COVID. But it's also a difficult model to follow. Because I think even Jyoti Nisha's film was also largely crowdfunded.
Perhaps.
But it cannot be the sole source of funding.
No, I mean, I have filmmaker friends here, a lot of them in the crowd, and some of my ex-students also who are here, and I'm really, really grateful to them for having come and to watch the film, and I can immediately point out to one shy young man who's sitting to that side. His latest film, he's made 3 films already. But he's been able to crack a zero budget structure, which is even more advanced than what we were trying to do.
What is a zero budget
He
structure?
will be able to say. He will be able to say. So his latest project it was picked up by Waves, and it's one of the 15 selected projects. So he's been able to crack something else, new model. You should speak with him.
Healthy. We will come to you because zero budget model sounds sounds like a pyramid scheme, but also
And
it's
and he's been doing this. This is his third feature.
congratulations. To come back to the film, though, Amna, wanted to pick your brains a little bit about the sound design of this because there's something, and you don't realize what the sound design is till like I'll come to the edit as well. Like it completely edits to black, and then all of the silence of the crickets and the lapping waves suddenly is just yanked away from you. So can you talk about meticulously designing the sound of this world? What were the things that went into making it so alive?
I think being with the film long enough, as in I was there from the script stage, I thought I knew the film, but when I sat down to kind of work on the film, there were so many iterations to a scene. Nothing. Some things were not just working. So it's like going, trying again till the director's happy. It's like that. So I mean, I think a lot of time goes into this, and I mean already, I think the pace is more or less set by the way the shots have been taken. So my process was to spend time with the film, I would say. Uh, well, I don't know what your question is.
So I just want to add a little bit here. I mean, the intricate texturing that you see, it's absolute. I would say that it was an immense amount of intense hard work, sheer hard work and patience and focus and dedication that made that happen, and that primarily came from Amla, and of course, and then she was supported by her team of people who were working alongside, but it was a long process, but at no point of time she really gave up. I mean, it seemed sometimes that it's enough, but she kept pushing. So I think the intricate texturing that we hear now is a result of that, and sometimes very, very creative choices. One of my most favorite moments in terms of sound design was in the very first scene, in the green room scene, when the camera pans and everyone has stepped out, and the inside of the green room is empty, and everything is happening outside now, and then suddenly there is a phone ring, which happens inside, and then immediately our focus also shifts back inside. So this space, which has gone dead, all of a sudden suddenly becomes alive, and then we're taken back in time as to there was something which was going on inside also. Then it was a very interesting shift of focus from the outside, from the inside to outside and back to inside, that happened through sound, and everything drowns in silence and in the ticking sound of the clock, which sort of grabs your attention and makes you sort of creates a metronome for you. I mean, I think one of the most beautiful moments of sound design was that for me.
It's the first thing that struck me because when you hear the phone ring, you think, is someone going to enter the room to pick it up? And suddenly your awareness turns inward into it.
Absolutely.
And then when it goes black, you realize, was the ticking always there throughout the scene?
Absolutely.
Or did you play it up in the last seconds before you faded to black?
We did play it up in the last few seconds, yes.
So I also want to bring in your editor, Kshinendu, here because the rhythm of this film is off the charts. It's moving in this... You're starting with these really slow, long shots. Then there are these very uncomfortable blackouts. Some are sudden, some are fade away. You're doing some overlays in between. And then when you move into the city, it becomes slightly a little more conventional in that sense. And then again, when you go back into nature, something else is happening. Can you talk about forming the rhythm of this film on the edit table? What were the things that you were consciously trying to avoid or consciously trying to bring in?
See, the way the film is shot, most of the scenes are one shot film. There's no cut in between, like 70-80% of the film. So I have to choose the starting point and ending point, where to end the shot, where to start the shot. Mainly, that was a deciding thing. So it was the way he has shot the film. It was obvious that it has to be like slow pace, slow rhythm kind of thing. So it was not much difficult in that sense, because that rhythm comes from the footage, the way it is shot. Uh, the main thing where we struggle is the structure of the film, because it's a little fragmentary. A lot of ellipses are there, a lot of time jump are there. So we were concerned whether it will hold people attention, the whole film. So we kind of experimented with that, putting short scenes different places to see whether it's holding people attention or not, whether the whole thing is engaging or coming out properly or not. There we mainly struggled. And another thing was that our concern is the duration of the whole film, which is like 2.5 hours long, and it's a slow paced film. So we are really trying to cut it down to 2 hours. We are thinking about that. But the only way to do it is to take out scenes. And if we were doing that, the whole thing was falling apart. So we couldn't do that. Each and every scene or shot was necessary. And another option was that cutting faster, to make the rhythm faster. But we thought that was not the character of the whole thing. It's not the way it is shot. So we didn't do that. So in terms of rhythm, it is in the shoot itself, in the footage itself.
But
That
you're
is.
also doing something interesting. The blackouts are very uncomfortable and they vary in duration. Sometimes the first time I watched the film at Kerala, I thought, did the screen glitch? Because it's been black for too long. Similarly, I think when he's walking down the corridor of the woman's house towards the child, and then there's this weird tunneling movement, and then you've cut to a shot on just the back of the door, and it feels like a glitched image for like 2 seconds before there's some movement. So you're doing something which is very uncomfortable to watch on the edit table. So can you talk about those choices?
See, the black thing is that it's kind of Abhijit's, most of the film, there are lots of blacks. So it's already, it's the way, he works. And another thing is because of the time jump, its fragmentary nature, those blacks were necessary in some places. And that tunnel thing and that house what you were talking about, that was, that was only, those shots were there, this shot like that. And it was already decided this is the way you're going to put it together. So this just not much thing. I mean, it's the black thing, it's completely Abhijit's style, you can say.
Just to add to that, I'm in great love with blacks. I love blacks coming in and puncturing and fragmenting and truncating the experience. I love that. One of the reasons why I'm a big fan of Michael Haneke's Code Unknown, for example. It completely plays with the idea of black and how black can become a part of the narrative. I'm not saying that I have been able to achieve anything close to that, but it inspires me in terms of how black can sort of contribute. So most of the blacks were actually written in the script itself, and
Durations too of the blacks?
durations were something that we obviously decided on the table to a large degree, but the blacks were there, and in a very, I don't know, perhaps slightly in an internal sort of a way. I think those blacks also meant snapping out in a certain sense, as if it just stops making sense. It almost feels like it's not making sense anymore. So almost at that moment of time, it feels that the film sort of stops playing out, because what's going on. So for example, in the right after the bullying scene, when we see Manoj jumping into the lake and swimming away, and the camera pans and we are on the water, it blacks out. In an internal way, it almost feels to me that the film sort of stops itself there, because what we just saw, it doesn't make sense, or it's too brutal to continue, something like that. And then it probably gathers a little more energy to come back to life again. So yeah, at a lot of places, the blacks follow that internal logic of stopping oneself from saying farther, perhaps, a lot of times.
But then what is your relationship with the spectator, Abhijit? Because you're asking us to step back in these
Yes.
black moments.
Yes.
You're not giving us access.
Yes.
And I'll come to Manoj's performance, but there's something so opaque about him. It's not mysterious, it's just opaque. I can't see anything behind his eyes. It's a very viscerally creepy performance. So you're not allowing us insight into these characters. Your camera is almost always or very frequently away from them. Why are you not letting us near these characters? Why are you not letting us be with them? Why do you keep pushing us away? Or why do you not allow us deeper into their spaces?
I think by cutting to black, it's not that I'm doing that, My intention is not to do that. In fact, my intention is quite the opposite, Sometimes I feel that when I'm cutting to black, I'm with the audience. Sometimes I feel that that's my place, that's my position, I'm in the same space of empathy with each other. We are in the same space of empathy with the audience, is what our feeling is, or my feeling, my internal feeling is. It's not that I want to block people to enter. In fact, it's the same reason why the camera would pan away when they're bullying him, But perhaps it's simply out of the brutality of what's going on.
But we're barely able to even see it, right? It's just these silhouettes which are merging in the background.
Right. But the sense of the brutality would perhaps sort of
Feel more if you get okay.
come across, travel across. People will be sort of, I think we were being sort of affected in a certain way while the film was being shot also, when we were watching it on the screen also during editing. And we imagine the audience will also be affected by what they were seeing. And one of the reasons why the camera pans at that point of time is to look away from what's happening, for a moment at least. Take a respite of that brutality and look at what's around, and then we see the tranquil nature, and that's a completely different zone. It's a different world. It has got no connection with what's going on there. We can barely hear the sounds of footsteps and people calling out each other, what's going on. But at the same time, the camera pans, almost 270 degrees and comes back to the land, and we figure that there is no respite because it's still going on. So there is no respite from that brutality. But I'm saying that just the way just the act of looking away through the pan, where we would like to believe that we are with the audience. The similar thing in case of the blacks also, where we stop saying anything, we just feel that we are all holding our breath together, is the feeling, is the intention or the desire. Obviously, it doesn't work every time. Maybe it doesn't work any time. I don't know. Only you guys will be able to say whether it even works even once or not. But that was the intention. Intention is not to
No, I'm actually
obstruct
saying
the
what you-
audience.
I'm- the idea of holding the breath and to be like, give me more.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, that as an audience, I'm constantly asking, as a spectator, I'm constantly asking to know more about these characters, to want to come more in. It's not that you're obstructing us, it's not really letting us in.
Is it that your idea, your question is about
Use the mic. Sorry.
getting more information about the characters, perhaps, which is not there in the film?
The idea of, and which is what, like when you walk out of this film, your head is swirling with these questions, right? There's so much that's resolved, and yet so much that you've left beautifully and productively unresolved. As a filmmaker, how do you deal with the idea of completion? How do you contend with that? Or is it a myth, this idea of a complete story, a complete film, a complete idea?
No, I'm sure not entirely, because there are lots of films that we see which has a nice resolution and a complete story and gives you a sense of satisfaction of a different nature of a narrative, film viewing. That's a different experience altogether. This is a bit of a different experience, I would say. A lot of times I, as a filmmaker, and all of us together as a unit, we would sort of come to this understanding or this realization that we really wouldn't know much. You know, if I have to, if I'm you know, if I have a person like this in my life, you know, who's going through a situation like this or a condition like this, you know, and if I'm you know, if I'm seeing that person, I'll only be knowledgeable about that person only to a certain degree. I'll not be able to understand that person completely. It's not possible. I can only sort of try to reach out and try to understand as much as possible, but there would be a limit to that, you know. So we also sort of in the process of writing, we also realized that there's this question that should we not understand why he is doing this,
Right.
you know? And then we thought that no, we can't. We'll never be able to understand why he's doing this because it's too complex, it's too layered. Maybe he doesn't know, himself doesn't know why he's doing this. He's also equally confused, I'm sure. You know, the main character. I'm not talking about him, but the character. He doesn't know for sure why he's doing it. A lot of times we feel that we are in control of things, but we are not in control of things. And maybe there is some bit of control and there is not much of control. So it's a strange confusion of being, you know. And we thought that we'll just be with him and take the journey along with him. And whatever we can pick up along the way, we'll stay with that. We'll not try to know too much. Or because it's futile to know too much and to have all information. It's not possible. That's what our feeling was, you know. I mean, whether it works or not, again, whether it's true or not, something that you guys have to say, the audience has to say.
And Manoj, how do you embody a character like this who's doing these odd, strange things, who but you're not entirely sure why they're doing what they're doing?
I wouldn't say that I'm not sure why I'm doing what I'm doing, because in my head I have a story. I have my own triggers.
Don't tell anyone.
I mean, because if somebody is doing something like that, then the very act, just before the very act, some thought is legit. It's there. It's coming. So for me, it was very important to get that, so that those moments of doing it are quite truthful, because to go into that abstraction that I don't even know why I'm doing it, I have never experienced that. I mean, to go there, I have to actually go there. But in my limited sanity, I sort of built that story for myself, and each time this episode happens with the character, the story is playing at a different, it's playing from a different point, but definitely the triggers are, for me, I had concretized those triggers, that this is leading to that. Say for example, when in the auto rickshaw, when I strip there, it's a very clear story in my head, which deals with that. Which deals with that child living across also. So initially he had a plan of putting that sound of the bird in that, which when I'm sitting in the auto rickshaw, I'm with that child's, I'm actually performing for the child in my head at that point. When I'm sitting in the auto rickshaw, I'm performing for the child, and while doing that, I'm performing a bird for the child, and while doing that, that connects with the thought of that I'm not going to tell, which triggers me to do that.
So then, as an actor, does it not bother you, or you're not thinking about these triggers that you're there in your head, are not there in the script, or not there in the image? Doesn't bother you, or you don't think about that?
I knew the effect of it. So I knew it's going to give the kind of result that my director wants from me. So it really doesn't bother me, which is the reason we never spoke about it. up till now. Not even now. So as long as it's doing the job, because that is what my job is, right? To be able to replicate the written word in whichever, like the tools are mine, as long as I'm getting the job done. So I don't think that's a problem, as long as it's not very conflicting, it's not opposing the process. I mean, if all of a sudden I build a very vague narrative in my head which is actually obstructing the script, then it's a problem. But we had that kind of understanding. We had before going on floor, we had such deep conversations about the character that it was very clear. And it's not just between me and sir. I mean, Khushbu helped me immensely. She helped me. Actually, she helped me understand the character. To be very true, when the process started, I failed miserably. I was approaching it in a very shallow manner, the scenes, and then she helped me understand the depth of the scenes. So, I mean, yes, her. I was very fortunate to have access to her, to take each scene to her, and brainstorm with her that what it actually is, and she would completely diss my interpretation also, and I wouldn't mind, because I really respect her point of view, and I respect where she's coming from. She's more read than me, like literature background she has. So ये भी बोल रहा है, मुझे भी help करती है. Like she's that person of the batch, MA English literature. So in fact, the first day when he sent the first scene, I read it and I was like, okay. Like I had agreed to do it, and I was like, हाँ ठीक है, मतलब मुझे समझ आ गया. But then she actually made me understand the possibilities and what that actually meant.
Actually, Khushbu was also the director of the play Normal, which they had performed many years back, after they had graduated from FTI. So that was a real play that they had done, and I had gone to watch that play. And I was so struck by that play. I've never seen anything like that, so radical and so bold and so brave. And I always thought that this play will become a part of something, anything that I make later. And they were also, it was directed by Khushbu, translated by Khushbu, and they were performed by them. So, yeah, so this film actually happened in the framework of that play. Obviously, it's not about the play. It doesn't tell the story of the play, but it has the framework of the play within which the film also sort of, takes birth in and then unfolds in a way, I would say. So there is an extension from the FTI days to the play, to their real experiences of being together, working together, and what he's talking about, So the director that she's playing of the play in the film is what she had been in her real life also.
Also lovely because he's litigating madness in the play and he's inhabiting madness in real life. And
Right.
There's something very, it's almost like they're meeting somewhere.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about the edit in 2.5 hours and trying to bring it shorter, the word used is necessary. Like, is this necessary in the film or not? Then there's the auto. There's also when they're on the beach and the camera's following the two of them, Sandeep, and then they stop, but the camera keeps going along the beach. And then cut to the bike again. You're seeing just the flowers before catching them on.
Yes.
If you're looking at it from a perspective of what's necessary, quote unquote, again, maybe you want to tell me what you mean by necessary. Are there moments where you're thinking that this is bloating the timeline, the duration of the film? Was that something that you were thinking about? If 2.5 hours as a duration seemed a little trying for you all?
22. 2 hours 22.
2 hours 22.
No, I'm sure the 2-hour, 22-minute time duration can be very trying to a lot of people. I'm absolutely not denying that fact. Yes, and we're really sorry about that.
No, you shouldn't be. You absolutely shouldn't be. If anyone should be sorry, it's the spectators.
Yeah, but at the same time, those moments of, again, sort of suspending things in a sense of limbo, and when the characters are left out of the frame and those little actions of the people who are around them on the beach, they are also left out, and we are just with the water and that sky. We just wanted to stay with those, internal rhythm of things, and let those things do something if there is some internal energy in them at all, to create a certain kind of an energy which then leads on to, if it's possible to use that energy as a transition point to build on the next thing.
Horizontal movement
Yes,
also. Just
yes.
Also, I think of it this way. I tell myself that if a string is plucked, it reverberates and creates, a resonance,
Right.
and it has a sustain. I think the extended shot of the auto driver is something like that, where you have the sense of what happened sustaining itself through those moments.
That's a fantastic way of putting it. You never said that to me ever. This is the first time you're saying that, but it's really well put, I would say.
better late than never.
Yeah. Really well put.
But also the auto thing, it's what is strange is that here's this auto guy who's just had someone who stripped totally naked in his backseat. And then 5 seconds later, he's just on with his world.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what I think holding on to the auto thing was for me.
Yeah, also,
the
but at the
city
same
just-
time, it's also at the same time, he's not completely rid of what had just happened. He also carries the memory of what had just happened, but he just mixes into the city also. It was a very interesting experience with the auto driver, because he's someone who's known to us through one of our production managers. So we came twice for the rehearsal because we had to time the shot. We were shooting on a busy, crowded road, main road of Mira Road, and we had to be absolutely precise as to how long it's taking and how the choreography is going to happen. But every time we rehearsed, Manoj had his clothes on, because it was only with the camera that he stripped. So I was very scared, I had been thinking to myself that, okay, he had rehearsed with Manoj with his clothes on. Now when he strips in the shot, will it take him by surprise, a lot of surprise, and he will not be able to deliver the driver, because he's not an actor. He's a real auto. I don't know. I mean, his professionalism, his focus was absolutely amazing. I can't tell you how much he was into that shot. At one point of time, one of the location managers was riding beside the auto to guard off the traffic. He was shouting a little too much. He said that I won't be able to give the shot like this if people keep shouting beside my ears like that. Ask them to be silent. I'm not being able to focus. So he was that much dedicated and into the moments in the filming itself was such surprising moments. I can't tell you. Yeah, he needed to be in the film. He made his space in the film.
And on that note, thank you all for staying
Yeah,
back.
I mean, seriously,
And-
thank you so much. I mean,
And all of you,
almost 11:30.
Abhijit, Amala, Manoj, Amol, Kushbu.
Thank you
it's
so
an honor
much.
to
I
have
think
all
it's
of
a,
you
it's a
here.
very
Thank
it's a
you.
wonderful space, and what you guys are doing is a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
Thank
Lots of
you, all
love.
of you.
Thank you.